Good morning, Phil.
Hi there, James. Hi, welcome to Lockdown Lessons, part 13. So with me today, I've got James Halligan from Energy Management Workshop Limited. So hello, James.
Hello, Phil. Hello, everybody.
Good. So yeah, really the aim of this conversation is just for us to find out exactly what your experiences of lockdown were, how Energy Management Workshop have actually managed to change and adapt during that time. And if there's anything that people watching can take away from that, I think that's going to be really useful. So I suppose the first things first is just explain a bit more about Energy Management Workshop, James, and what you're aiming to achieve and how you help people.
Okay. Energy Management Workshop is a bespoke energy brokerage and consultancy business, mainly dealing with medium to large size businesses, not only just reducing their costs and managing their energy contracts for the next 5-10 years or however long they want to, but helping them go green as well. We specialize a little bit in the commercial side on construction with clients nationwide such as McLaren Construction, and more locally in Kent, the Gallagher Group, who are based in Maidstone. Basically, we're an outside consultant that helps them and brings in skills that normally a business would not have in their ability to negotiate the best possible deal for them.
Superb. Thank you very much. So if we cast our minds back to sort of March the 23rd when we went into lockdown, at what point, either before or during lockdown, did you think we might be approaching a more challenging situation, shall we say?
Almost immediately, more so for my other two businesses than this one. I run a logistics business which concentrated on store replenishment. Without the stores being opened, they don't need any replenishment, and our turnover dropped by 75% in a matter of days. And the other company is a manufacturing company, and the order book vanished. On the energy side, we earn the bulk of our money from commission on the energy that's been used by our customers. So the immediate impact is not great, but we could see that if people are not actually going to work, if they're not working on construction sites, they're not going to be consuming energy, and as a result, our core income would reduce. The other problem that faces us is that the majority of our clients like to meet us face to face. They like to do things on a handshake, and we like to go out on site as well because we can actually see what our clients need, which isn't really visible on the phone or even on a Zoom meeting. Difficulty was there as well is that we just spent a significant amount of money on telemarketing, setting up appointments and developing relationships with a significant number of commercial developers. And obviously straight away we were getting instructions not to continue with the work because there might not be any services going on site for a while. And with the uncertainty that created, I think the impact on Energy Management Workshop really filtered in about 10, 11 days after the lockdown. Didn't impact majorly our core income, as I said, obviously a reduction in commission, but the way we thrive and the way we enjoy business is by getting new clients. A new client usually comes with loads of issues, which gives us a little bit of joy, helping them sort their lives out. And typically we get clients who'll come in with 6 different energy suppliers, 12 or 13 different sites, 8 or 9 different rates, and we just make it into one invoice, one rate, one supplier, one point of contact. But there's usually a mess that just sits there waiting to be sorted. And some of the team really enjoy getting their head around that.
Fantastic. So what exactly have you had to do to adapt to the new way we've been working since the end of March then, James?
Well, we adapted by changing the way I network, which is more Zoom now and team than it used to be on the golf course, or going to trade events or networking events where people arrange meals where I can spend 5 or 6 hours with somebody because it's so much easier to get business from somebody that you spend time with.
Great.
The difficulty with that is that most Zoom meetings will have 10 or 15 or even more people on the Zoom, and you only want to talk to one of them because you can only identify one as your client. That they're not all potentials, and sometimes you look at the Zoom meeting and you think, well, I could do what I want to do in about 4 or 5 minutes rather than sitting here waiting to stuff that's not helping my business. And as soon as we got out of lockdown, and obviously we had a short period out of lockdown, we saw a surge again in new inquiries, and obviously things have gone quiet again.
Yeah. So talk to me about the wins that you did experience in between the 2 lockdowns then, James.
I don't think there were many wins, to be quite honest with you, because the way we get clients is so focused in one direction. And there's very little we can do to increase our processes. I mean, obviously, Peter, our technical director, spent more time studying and improving his knowledge, etc. We identified almost immediately that the impact of this lockdown would be that the energy companies would have less money. So therefore, they would be more susceptible to taking on new clients and doing deals. So we tried to persuade a lot of our clients, this is the time to negotiate your next 2 or 3 year deal. Let's do it early. Let's get it done while energy prices are cheap. But in all honesty, most of our clients were going, hell, are we going to survive this? What are we going to do next? Suddenly there's nobody in the office. And they had better things to think about than going greener or saving on energy. And all we had to do then was just sit back, continue to educate, wait for things to happen. But typically you've got an answer back saying, sorry, the accountant's on furlough. I can't find the paperwork. Somebody will get back to you later. Somebody's working from home. Well, I can't sign that piece of paper because I haven't got a scanner. It was just chaos, and it was just sit back, relax, build up the database, get back in touch with some people that we dealt with before. We've got a number of white labeling operations. One of them is specializing in the care sector, where we had a fair amount of traction because they're experiencing an awful lot of difficulties, and the costs are increasing dramatically with the extra care that's involved and locking up the public from visiting care homes, etc. So most of the care home owners are actually sitting indoors all the time, and we can pin them down and organize deals for them. But apart from that, there's no other sector that we deal with that was in that situation. Everybody was down in tools and hoping that they would survive, and then suddenly getting loads of money from the government. So therefore, they were smiling for a while.
and long may that continue, I suppose. So if you could go back in time, is there anything you've actually changed within the business? You've changed the way you're working that you would actually continue with going forward?
With this particular business, no. It is very much personality driven. It is a handshake. It is getting your boots dirty, going out on the muddy site, etc. And that's where the confidence is built, because it's historically, most of these companies are owned and run by individuals who are not young. They're in their 50s, they're in their 60s, and they might be passing it down to the next generation, but they're still at that age where a handshake is more important than a phone call. That industry might change as the next generation works its way down, but typically the people with the money to do commercial developments are of an older age group, so to speak, unless they're working for a large company like McLaren Construction, which we do a lot of business with. So very little we could do to change. On the other 2 businesses, yes, we did change. Instead of doing retail replenishment, we're now about 90% online deliveries, and we're back to a turnover level higher than we were before we went into lockdown. Even this week will be probably one of our biggest turnover figures since we started 7 or 8 years ago. On the manufacturing side, I managed to buy out our biggest competitor pre-liquidation because they suffered dramatically. So that's helped us tremendously. I've got more money in the bank account now than the company's ever had, due to the fact that we're actually taking orders, which is remarkable. Some of that's down to the fact that people have actually been sat at home thinking, what am I going to spend my excess money on? So we're dealing with a lot of individuals who are buying from us who've got excess funds and want to have a bit of fun. But it's not everybody's cup of tea having a hovercraft floating around on the river, not floating, we're flying on a river around their land. But we've been very, very busy on that side. But on the energy side, developments will only continue to take place when the economy is confident in the future. At the moment, there is very little confidence. We have a couple of very large sites which are being redeveloped in Dover, mainly due to the fact that this is going to be a free port. There's a very large fort on top of one of the hills overlooking the harbour, which used to be a prison at one stage or other. That's going to be completely redeveloped, so we're working on the energy supply to there. There's another site in a place called Whitfield, just outside Dover, which is going to be another lorry park, but also a pretty large data center. And that will keep us going for a while, long-term projects. But they are companies with massive amount of money. They're not your medium-sized developer. They're in there for the long term. They've bought the land. They need to do something with it.
Good stuff. So I suppose one question I've got for you is, what would you say you've learned about yourself during the last few months then, James?
Oh, I think I was getting lazy. I was bored. It was too easy. To be quite honest with you, trying to pick a business up off the floor is a challenge, but it's also exciting. You've got to look for the wins where you can get them, and there might be small wins. There might even be just simple thing that I've got somebody out there working who's not in a good mood at the moment, and I need to cheer them up so they're more efficient. It's the little things, but being on the brink of collapse does have its excitement if you survive. If you don't bury your head in the sand and you just say, hey, come on, let's get out of this. We've been through this before. I'm a little bit older than most people. I've been through the 90s where we had a massive crash. I've been through 2008 to 2010 when I saw lots of friends go bust, especially back in Ireland as well as over here. It's a challenge that if you meet it head on, you'll see a solution. If you try and hide or you try and run away, you're going to collapse. And that's why we bought out our main competitor on the manufacturing side. They just could see no future. They were so pessimistic about the future. They just threw their hands up in the air, and I went, thank you very much. I'll have your stock, I'll have your IP, and I'll have your goodwill. And some of your bad will as well, probably.
So, yeah, no, it's interesting actually. I mean, I always say that, you know, any of the businesses that I work with, the two top things that people need to focus on at the moment is mindset. And you mentioned that these guys were pessimistic. Maybe if they'd been more optimistic, they might have had something to do. And the other thing is obviously cash flow. And a lot of businesses I speak to aren't really in control of their cash flow. And also their mindsets are often not what they need to be to get us out of the situation that a lot of us are in. The levels of resilience is very, very low. So if there's anything that people out there can do to affect that and to help themselves, then that's ever so important. So just to go back again to the end of the first lockdown then, James, what was the first thing you did after you were allowed out into the big wide world?
Did my golf clubs.
Thought so. And it's quite unbelievable now, isn't it, that you can't do that now, because in golf, you know, if you play golf like I do, you're usually a good sort of 50 yards away from the nearest player anyway, so there's absolutely no problem with social distancing, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's probably one of the safest places to be at the moment. Certainly not in school or university, but on the golf course, I can't see any issues whatsoever.
No, quite staggering.
On a personal side, during the first lockdown, I put 2.5 stone on, and getting back on the golf course, managed to get rid of that. But in the next 2.5 months, I'm now looking at a situation where I'm getting into work again, 5 o'clock in the morning. This is better to get in before everybody else, and nibbling away at biscuits and having 4 meals a day because I'm up so early, and having a late meal when I get home. I'm going to say late, 7 o'clock at night, and I'm in bed by 8:30. But
yeah, it's sounding very similar to my life at the moment, James. To be honest with you, it's very interesting actually. The way I think the problem with Zoom is that you can just stop Zoom and you're on with the next task, whereas usually you're in the car processing information, thinking about the next meeting you're going to, and that's been taken away from us at the moment, which means we can sort of get more done in the day, but I'm not sure about the level of productivity that a lot of us are actually experiencing. It's sometimes creating problems, and again, like you say, eating 4 meals a day is something I can definitely associate with at the moment. So just for those out of people that are actually watching this at the moment, which types of people are you looking to actually speak to at the moment in terms of their roles, right, and the types of businesses?
The types of businesses we're looking for are companies with high energy needs, where it is a difficult cost to their business, who are looking for greater efficiency, who are looking to go greener. Typically, we can reduce their cost between 15 and 30%, and certainly make them more efficient. And as it happens, I mean, I'm on first name terms with a number of the owners of the energy companies in the UK, including one madman who owns Ecotricity, a guy called Dale Irwin, who's got the only vegan football team in the UK. He won't actually take on any players who are not following the same philosophy. And he's pushing a very green movement at the moment, even to the extent of turning down some companies because they might be involved in something that damages the environment. But the opportunities to become more green out there are there, and the cost is not enormous. We're probably talking about 1 to 2% increase on the annual cost, and if companies want us to be seen to be more green, we can achieve that by sourcing all the energy supplies from green sources. It's the way everybody's going. It's the way the young people think. Although sometimes I do think how green is green. And all those lovely wind turbines, where did all the materials come to make them?
Very good point.
It wasn't a very green process making them, was it?
Yeah, it's a highly debatable, that type of thing. So if anyone that's listening to this wants to get in contact with you, James, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave your details below in the comments below in LinkedIn. But just explain to them just briefly now, how best can they contact you?
Well, obviously I can be contacted through my email address, which is james@energymanagementworkshop.com. But the nicest way to do it is probably check me up on LinkedIn, have a look to see who I am, and then send me a friend request. Apart from that, my mobile number, which I hardly ever answer because I'm always busy, is 07719056457. But again, because I'm up so early, I deal with emails and messages any time of the day.
Fantastic. Well, that's been great speaking to you, James. Really interesting to find out what happened to you during lockdown and how you're adapting and changing along the way. So I'd just like to say thank you very much, and yeah, I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, I'll speak to you again shortly, Phil. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.